Alright, hello guys, and welcome to my updated preliminary winter forecast. I made a few changes, especially to the northeast, that you're not going to want to miss. I changed some of the locations of the cold and snow, so you're definitely not going to want to miss that. But before we get into the video though, I would ask that you would subscribe if you do like weather related content. That is the type of content that I make. Also, make sure to like the video if you do like the video, that way I know what kind of content you guys want me to make. Alright guys, let's get right into it. Looking at the first graphic here, we see our temperature forecast. This is based on temperature anomalies, which means it's comparative to normal. Therefore, if you're in the above normal section, that does not mean that you will not see cold temperatures. That just means that it will be warmer than average. Same goes for below normal temperatures. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be cold if you live in Florida. So we're looking at some key differences here. I moved the below normal temperatures south quite a bit. The medium tier blue there is actually stretched very far south compared to what it was. Also, that deepest blue color there is pretty far south compared to where it was. Looking at the west though, our above normal temperature section hasn't changed a lot. You see that above normal section right there over California, Nevada, and portions of Oregon, Utah, and Arizona. Yeah, you're going to be experiencing a lot of ridges there. There will be cool downs in between, but it looks like it's going to be a relatively warm winter, and you guys have gotten used to it. I wish I could say otherwise, but that's what it's looking like right now. You'll probably have to wait for a La Nina winter, which will happen in the future eventually, obviously. Now, before I get on to the precipitation forecast, I would ask that you would comment your city name down below, and I'm going to give you a written forecast for your city. Okay, so looking at our precipitation, you see that we have an above normal precipitation area in the eastern and Gulf Coast areas. Again, this does not mean that you won't see dry periods or even dry conditions in some of the areas. This just means you will see more rain than normal here. I expect a lot of nor'easters, Miller A and Miller B. I made videos for both of those, so if you want to go check those out, they're on my channel. Those are two storm tracks that it would be really good to educate yourself on. That would really increase your weather knowledge a lot, so I highly recommend those videos. This is going to bring a lot of storms up the coast and really lead to a lot of rain and snow for all of these areas in the dark green, and a lot of rain also in snow for those lighter green areas as well. Also, we notice a below normal precipitation area for Washington and Oregon. Now, this is where we're going to be lacking a storm track that usually takes place a lot in the winter, especially La Nina winters, but in El Nino winters, this storm track is known for kind of quieting down and not showing itself as much. This is because of a split flow in the jet stream. It's really hard to explain, so maybe for another video I'll explain that. Also, you'll notice that there is a tan area. This is also where you'll experience semi-dry conditions comparatively to your normal. Now let's get on to your snowfall forecast. Again, this is comparative to normal, so even though if you're in the below normal or above normal sections here, this does not mean that you will see a lot of snow or not a lot of snow. This is just comparative to your normal. So even though Florida is in the slightly above average snowfall, this doesn't mean they'll be seeing a lot of snow. Anyway, let's get on to it. Above normal snowfall in the northeastern United States, you see I've pulled that section of most snow slightly south. I was thinking that interior New England would have a really good winter, and I still do, matter of fact. I just don't think that they'll be the bullseye like I did once think. I think that Pennsylvania, New Jersey, northern Virginia, northern West Virginia, portions of New York, Massachusetts, southern Vermont, and New Hampshire, as well as Connecticut and Rhode Island, will be the bullseye area for snowstorms. I think that this is where the biggest, the baddest, and the most snowstorms are going to track through there. Also notice there's that medium tier blue. That's actually where you'll see quite a bit of snow as well comparative to your normal. Again, it's those nor'easters that are going to be tracking through here that are going to bring a lot more snow than you normally see for these regions in a normal winter. So that's really why I think that we will have a lot more snow in the east than typical. And you see that below normal section in the northwestern United States. That's obviously because I'm calling for below average precipitation. So with less precipitation, there's less opportunity for snow, as well as those warmer temperatures. It's not going to help. You will still see snow, especially on those mountaintops, just not quite as much. Now, before I get on with the overall forecast, I would ask that you go down below, like the video, and then leave a comment letting me know that you like the video. Then leave your name or whatever you want to go by. And in my next winter forecast, I'm going to pick 10 of you and give you a shout out at the end of the video. So the overall forecast is a really brief, very basic summary of your winter. So this is kind of what you could look back and say about this winter that's coming up, in my opinion. Starting with the northwest and working our way east, we see that more dry than average conditions in the Pacific Northwest. That's because obviously we will be seeing less precipitation, so you'll be getting much drier conditions there. Half your winters are very wet and half of them are really dry. That's kind of how it goes there usually. Obviously it's always really wet, it's just comparatively it won't be quite as wet as it is sometimes. Some drought relief there in California, looking really good for them. Average precipitation, which is actually good news considering they've been getting below average precipitation very consistently, so that's really good news. Here in this orange section for some of the four corner states, we see warmer than average conditions. This kind of stretches over the entire western United States, but really, all those other things override that. So this is a section where that's going to be the predominant feature there. Things begin to slow down in early December there for that pink section that covers portions of Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Idaho. There, it's really going to be snowy, and it has been already. It's going to be pretty snowy there for those early sections of the winter, but it's really going to taper off, and I expect a lot of snow in the spring and fall. Obviously, you get that typically, but the winter is going to be quite quiet there actually. But overall, the whole year you guys will do pretty good, but for the winter months, which this forecast is for the winter months, it's not going to be quite as good as typical. It depends what you want, of course. Average conditions there in that gray section, it's really rare to get average conditions, so I expect that a lot of these things will push in and you're going to get some sort of predominant feature, but right now it's hard to say. It could go either direction, so that's why I'm going to say average conditions. Now that huge purple section there, frequent cold outbreaks, this is where you're going to see a lot of those troughs move in and really, really cold temperatures, as you saw in my temperature forecast. So really frigid winter there. It's going to be quite dry actually. You might get below average snow or average snow, but it's going to be extremely cold. A lot of those low pressure systems are going to go around you. That's what's going to happen. And then we see that pink section, winter battle zone. So this is really where the rain is going to be fighting with the snow, and you're going to get a lot of mixed storms, and there's going to be some flakes at times, some sleet at times. This is really where that mixed section is going to be, and it's going to be a battle for sure. So that's what that means. Chilly and wet in that left green section there for portions of Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and coastal Texas there. It'll be quite chilly and wet. I mean, you might see a few flakes there, but it's not looking super likely for accumulating snow. So it's really just going to be chilly and rainy for the most part. And then that right green section there over Florida, Alabama, Georgia, and portions of South Carolina. That's where it might not be quite as chilly, but it's going to be very wet, even more wet than I think that other section. So that's where it's going to be very stormy, even some thunderstorms during the winter there. It's not too unheard of, but... And then we see this little turquoise section here over North Carolina, portions of South Carolina, northern Georgia, Tennessee, eastern Tennessee, that is. This is where we're going to get a few snowstorms. This isn't very typical for them to see a few snowstorms. We've seen it in the past, and I think that this is going to be one of those winters where you'll probably see 2 to 4 snowstorms for that section, maybe more in the mountain sections. Then we see this white section here. This is the worst of winter. This is where we might see a blizzard or two set up, especially in that southern New England section. Very big snowstorms, and I think frequent snowstorms, like I said in my snowfall forecast a few minutes ago. I think really Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and southern New England, as well as Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia, Northern Virginia, you guys are going to get battered. I really think you're going to get the worst of the winter there. I truly believe that. And then we see this little blue section there for northern New England. This is where it should be very snowy, even more snowy than normal, like I said in my snowfall forecast. But I think that a lot of the storms are going to go out to sea or south of you, and that's really what's going to lead to not as much accumulating snow there in those storms. I think a lot of storms will bring a lot of snow there, and they will get bullseye storms, obviously, at some point during the winter, but I really think that a lot of those are going to go south. Probably about half of them aren't even going to really involve you guys up there, so that's just what I'm thinking as of right now. So that was the overall forecast, guys. Now we're going to get into a portion of the video that is really a in-depth look, and it's really scientific, and if you only wanted to see the forecast, you could leave at this point. It wouldn't offend me at all, obviously. I wouldn't even know if you did. We're really going to break things down here, and if that just bores you, then you can go ahead and click off the video here. So my long-range forecasting process goes based off of, in no particular order, current sea surface temperatures, the ENSO, which is El Nino and La Nina, as well as other oscillations, sunspot activity, analog years, and long-range models. Long-range models being the least important there, even though I said in no particular order, that isn't very important. And ironically, we're going to be looking at a long-range model here, the JAMSTEC, that is just recently updated. We see their precipitation forecast pretty much agrees with my forecast, except it has drier conditions in those central portions. I don't really know what all that's about, but you have to take these models with a grain of salt. Here's their temperature forecast, though. bringing those colder temperatures down to the southern United States and the northern United States with warmer than average conditions. So I really was confused at first when I saw this, and I had to kind of do a little bit of digging to find out why this is. Why is it showing this, and why does it disagree with me? Because obviously I want to be able to adjust my forecast if I feel it's needed, and I don't in this case. So looking at their El Nino forecast, you see they're calling for an El Nino that peaks out around 2 degrees, and that's really a strong or moderate to strong El Nino, and I really think that the El Nino is going to stay a lot weaker than this, and a lot of strong El Ninos bring very warm conditions to the northern United States, and that really is the only explanation that I can come up with, and it makes a lot of sense if that is what they're calling for. You see here 2 degrees above average in that El Nino. I think it's going to be half as strong as that, so I think that it's really going to be a significant difference from what they're calling for. So that's that. I didn't want you guys to be worried about that if you have seen the Jamstack. Another thing we want to look at is the current snowfall cover here in the United States. This is from my Twitter actually, which I highly recommend following. It'll be down in the pinned comment down below if you want to go ahead and follow that. You see that 2018 there on the bottom right is more snow covered right now, or as of 2 days ago actually, than any of the previous years here from 2013 till now. So that least snow year being 2015 to 2016, so that was heading into the winter of 2015 to 2016, which was not a good winter. So this is good news for snow lovers that we don't look like that right now. That was the least snowy year, and right now we're the most snowy year. We're going to want to look also at the sunspot activity. Right now we're heading into a solar minimum, so this is also a really good sign for cold temperatures, really cold temperatures. There's a direct relationship between cold winters and sunspot activity. Right now we're heading to the lower portion, which usually brings colder conditions. Now, here's a few analogs of those years that had similar sunspot activity, and you see it brings a lot of those below average temperatures there for the northern United States. It does have some warmer temperatures or average temperatures in the southeastern United States. I'm kind of disregarding that. These didn't have very similar oscillations this year to this year. They really just had the sunspot activity in common, so we're going to take that with a grain of salt. Here's December to March 2009 to 2010. Now, you see this is one of my weaker analog years. This is one of the analog years that I don't really agree with the most. So I know a lot of you guys from Northern Virginia and Maryland would really love for this winter to be a lot like that winter if you did like snow. I think this winter will be a lot like that one, but not because of anything to do with oscillations. I think it has a lot to do with sunspot activity and just coincidence. Here is December to March 2015 to 2016. Remember that year that I showed the least amount of snow? This is that. So you see this was a strong El Nino year. You see those warmer temperatures in the north? Again, that's what I was talking about, what the Jamstack might be seeing there. So I don't think that that's a good analog, by the way. Here's 2014 to 2015, and this is my favorite analog for this year. And you see it agrees a lot with my forecast. Really cold temperatures there in the northern United States and dipping down into some of the southeastern portions of the United States, and then that warm in the west. I think this is the best analog. The sea surface temperatures match up perfectly. It had a lot of things in common, except for sunspot activity. That year had an unfavorable sunspot activity. We have a favorable sunspot activity for cold winter, so it might even be a little bit worse than that winter if everything comes together. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm probably only going to be making one more winter forecast, and again, that will be the official winter forecast. That should be coming late November, right before winter starts. And again, if you guys did like and comment down below, I am going to be picking 10 of you to be featured at the end of that video, where I'm going to give 10 of you a shout out. So make sure to participate in that if you did want to take part in that. Anyway, I hope you guys subscribe to the channel if you did like the video. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.